Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome all of you for today's special session series which we are beginning today. Let us all begin this session with a few prayers. Please join me for the prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today, on the auspicious day of Akshaya Tritiya, we are beginning this new series based on Srila Prabhupada's book, Sri Īśopaniṣad. We know the Vedic scriptures are vast. There are 4 Vedas, there are 108 principal Upanishads. Then there are other scriptures like the Puranas, the Itihasas, the Vedanta Sutras. So the Vedic scriptures, Srila Prabhupada compared them to encyclopedia. So you get in-depth understanding, a vast storehouse of wisdom and knowledge that have been left by the great sages for our benefit. And these Vedic scriptures, they are meant to guide us towards the path of attaining our original constitutional position, which is to lead a life full of knowledge and bliss in eternity. So, Īśopaniṣad is also one such Vedic scripture. It falls into the category of Upanishad. What is Upanishad? Upa means to come closer. Upanishad means that knowledge which brings us closer to the Supreme Lord. That is called Upanishad. And there are so many Upanishads, and this specific Īśopaniṣad, Isha means the Supreme Controller, the Supreme Lord. This Upanishad tells us how we can come closer to the Supreme Lord, Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada chose this particular Upanishad to write commentaries among all the Upanishads, because this Upanishad is talking about our personal relationship with Krishna. So what we will do in this series is, every day for about 20 or 25 minutes, we shall be reading from this book, Īśopaniṣad by Srila Prabhupada. And in between, I will also be discussing some important and interesting points. So request all of you to please pay attention while I'm reading. And towards the end of the session, you can also ask your doubts or queries if you have any. And that will help us to understand the concepts better. So let us offer our obeisances to our beloved spiritual master, Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Seeking his blessings, let us begin the reading of this book. So I'm having a hard copy book of Sri Īśopaniṣad. I'll be reading from this book. Reading from the book Sri Īśopaniṣad by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. First, we shall begin with introduction. This introduction is entitled Teachings of the Vedas. This was delivered as a lecture by Srila Prabhupada on October 6, 1969 at Conway Hall in London, England. Ladies and gentlemen, today's subject matter is the teachings of the Vedas. What are the Vedas? The Sanskrit verbal root of Veda can be interpreted variously, but the purport is finally one. Veda means knowledge. Any knowledge you accept is Veda, for the teachings of the Vedas are the original knowledge. In the conditioned state, our knowledge is subjected to many deficiencies. The difference between a conditioned soul and a liberated soul is that the conditioned soul has 4 kinds of defects. The first defect is that he must commit mistakes. For example, in our country, Mahatma Gandhi was considered to be a very great personality, but he committed many mistakes. Even at the last stage of his life, his assistant warned Mahatma Gandhi, don't go to the New Delhi meeting. I have some friends and I have heard there is danger. But he did not hear. He persisted in going and was killed. Even great personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, President Kennedy, there are so many of them, make mistakes. To err is human. This is one defect of the conditioned soul. Another defect, to be illusioned. Illusion means to accept something which is not. Maya. Maya means what is not. Everyone is accepting the body as the self. If I ask you what you are, you will say, I am Mr. John, I am a rich man, I am this, I am that. All these are bodily identifications. But you are not this body. This is illusion. The third defect is the cheating propensity. Everyone has the propensity to cheat others. Although a person is fool number 1, he poses himself as very intelligent. Although it is already pointed out that he is in illusion and makes mistakes, he will theorize. I think this is this, this is this. But he does not even know his own position. He writes books of philosophy, although he is defective. That is his disease. That is cheating. Lastly, our senses are imperfect. We are very proud of our eyes. Often someone will challenge, can you show me God? But do you have the eyes to see God? You will never see if you haven't the eyes. If immediately the room becomes dark, you cannot see even your own hands. So, what power do you have to see? We cannot, therefore, expect knowledge or Veda with these imperfect senses. With all these deficiencies in conditioned life, we cannot give perfect knowledge to anyone, nor are we ourselves perfect. Therefore, we accept the Vedas as they are. So let us examine some important points, what Srila Prabhupada is making here. So first of all, Prabhupada is talking about what is Veda. So Veda is a Sanskrit word, and the root word for the Veda is vid dhatu. Vid means to know. So Veda means knowledge. In fact, any branch of knowledge, Srila Prabhupada says, any branch of knowledge that we may be talking about, the origin is the Veda. Therefore, any branch of knowledge can be called as Veda because originally the source of all knowledge is Veda. So the Vedas contain both material knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Now, why should we accept the authority of the Vedas? That is the question. So, Srila Prabhupada explains that we cannot manufacture our own knowledge. Why? Because inherently we have 4 kinds of defects. Srila Prabhupada points out the first defect is we have the tendency to commit mistakes. To err is human. So nobody can say that I never commit mistakes in my life, isn't it? Everybody, even great personalities. Prabhupada gave the example of Mahatma Gandhi, President Kennedy, and many others. They also commit mistakes in their lives. That means this is a defect in every person in this material world to commit mistakes. Second defect that we all have is we get illusioned. We come under the influence of Maya. Maya means that which is not. We come under the influence of illusion, right? For example, sometimes we mistake rope to be snake in darkness. That is an example for illusion. Now, the greatest illusion that everybody is into is everybody thinks that he or she is their body. That is the biggest illusion. We are not our body. We are actually soul. So this is an example for illusion. And because we misidentify ourselves with our body, we think that simply by taking care of the body, I will be happy. So this is the life's biggest illusion. So the second defect that all of us are prone to get into, or we have these defects, that is called tendency to be illusioned. The third defect is cheating propensity. You know, many a times we keep hearing, we might have also come across, some of us have also committed this during examination in our school or college. You know, a lot of students, they take copy cheats. They want to go and copy the answers and cheat the examiner and get good marks. Or some people, they look into the neighbor's answer sheet. So they want to cheat the examiner and write the answers from his answer sheet. But many a times the neighbor's answer sheets also will have wrong answers. So if you copy the wrong answers, you will also not get any value, any marks for that. Anyway, the point is we have a tendency to cheat. Cheating propensity is very much there in everybody, right? We see big ministers committing fraud to, cheat public money, lakhs and crores of rupees, they cheat. So this is another example for cheating propensity. So Prabhupada says, there are a lot of great scholars who pose themselves to be very learned, very perfect, and they misguide the general public, right? Even though they don't know about themselves, they pose themselves to be very learned. They pose themselves to be some God men. Some people claim that they are God, and in this way they cheat the innocent public. This is an example for cheating propensity. And what is the fourth and the last defect all of us have? We have got imperfect senses. Our senses are not perfect, right? How do we say our senses are not perfect? Our eyes can see only when there is light. When there is no light, even though the objects are there, we cannot see. So that is a limitation of our eyes. That means our eyes, our senses are not perfect. They have some defect. Our ears can hear sound frequencies only between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. Now, below 20 hertz, infrasonics, above 20 kilohertz, ultrasonics, there are sound frequencies, but we cannot hear. Our ears are deaf to those frequencies of sound vibrations. So this is an example for our imperfect senses. So when we have these four kinds of defects, how can we manufacture perfect knowledge? A lot of people say, I'll figure out everything by myself. I will discover this world. I will discover what is the purpose of my life myself. We have so many imperfections. We have so many defects. So whatever knowledge we try to figure out ourselves will also be affected by our defects and imperfections. Therefore, we cannot rely on our senses or on our mind to gather information or knowledge. That is why Srila Prabhupada says we have to accept the authority of the Vedas. So, does it mean that the Vedas are free from these four defects? These four defects are not there in the Vedas? Is that what Srila Prabhupada trying to say? Let us read more and we will understand the answer to this question. We'll continue to read. Prabhupada says, you may call the Vedas Hindu, but Hindu is a foreign name. We are not Hindus. Our real identification is Varnashrama. Varnashrama denotes the followers of the Vedas, those who accept the human society in 8 divisions of Varna and Ashrama. There are 4 divisions of society and 4 divisions of spiritual life. This is called Varnashrama. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 13. These divisions are everywhere because they are created by God. The divisions of society are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Brahmana refers to the very intelligent class of men, those who know what is Brahman. Similarly, the Kshatriyas, the administrator group, are the next intelligent class of men. Then the Vaishyas, the mercantile group. These natural classifications are found everywhere. This is the Vedic principle and we accept it. Vedic principles are accepted as axiomatic truth, for there cannot be any mistake. That is acceptance. For instance, in India, cow dung is accepted as pure, and yet cow dung is the stool of an animal. In one place, you will find the Vedic injunction that if you touch stool, you have to take a bath immediately. But in another place, it is said that the stool of a cow is pure. If you smear cow dung in an impure place, that place becomes pure. With our ordinary sense, we can argue this is contradictory. Actually, it is contradictory from the ordinary point of view, but it is not false. It is a fact. In Calcutta, a very prominent scientist and doctor analyzed cow dung and found that it contains all antiseptic properties. In India, if one person tells another, "You mean you must do this," the other party may say, "What do you mean? Is this a Vedic injunction that I have to follow you without any argument?" Vedic injunctions cannot be interpreted. But ultimately, if you carefully study why these injunctions are there, you will find that they are all correct. The Vedas are not compilations of human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from the spiritual world, from Lord Krishna. Another name of the Vedas is Shruti. Shruti refers to that knowledge which is acquired by hearing. It is not experimental knowledge. Shruti is considered to be like a mother. We take so much knowledge from our mother. For example, if you want to know who your father is, who can answer you? Your mother. If the mother says, "Here is your father," you have to accept it. It is not possible to experiment to find out whether he is your father. Similarly, if you want to know something beyond your experience, beyond your experimental knowledge, beyond the activities of the senses, then you have to accept the Vedas. There is no question of experimenting. It has already been experimented. It is already settled. The version of the mother, for instance, has to be accepted as truth. There is no other way. The Vedas are considered to be the mother, and Brahma is called the grandfather, the forefather, because he was the first to be instructed in the Vedic knowledge. In the beginning, the first living creature was Brahma. He received this Vedic knowledge and imparted it to Narada and other disciples and sons, and they also distributed it to their disciples. In this way, the Vedic knowledge comes down by disciplic succession. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that Vedic knowledge is understood in this way. If you make experimental endeavor, you come to the same conclusion, but just to save time, you should accept. If you want to know who your father is, and if you accept your mother as the authority, then whatever she says can be accepted without argument. So, based on what we read so far, Srila Prabhupada is saying that Vedic knowledge is perfect. Vedic knowledge is not contaminated by the 4 kinds of human defects that we talked about just now. Why? because this Vedic knowledge is not manufactured by an ordinary human being like you and me. This Vedic knowledge is coming directly from the Supreme Lord, Krishna. In fact, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find this. Vedo Narayana Sakshat. The Vedas are directly emanations from Lord Narayana, Lord Krishna. So it is not manufactured by people with defects. That means this knowledge is all perfect. And Srila Prabhupada, to substantiate this statement that Vedic knowledge is all perfect, he gives one example. In the Vedas, it is said, as soon as you come in touch with the stool of any animal, you become contaminated. You have to take a bath immediately. But the same Vedas also say that the Gomaya, that is the cow dung, is very, very pure. Now it may appear to be a contradictory thing. One place Veda is saying, stool of an animal contaminates you. Another place the same Vedas are saying cow dung is very pure. Why this contradiction? Yes, this cow dung is an exception because this cow dung is purifying. We have to accept this as the Vedic statement. Somebody may say, oh, what is this? Is it compulsory that I have to accept? Even if Prabhupada says, even if you do experiment and find out, you will arrive at the same truth. Right? Prabhupada says that there are many scientists who have done experiments and they have found out that cow urine and cow dung, they actually contain antiseptic properties. That means instead of doing years and years of experimentation and research and then coming to the same conclusion, why don't you save your time by accepting the perfect Vedic knowledge? That is what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. So that is why Vedic knowledge is called Apaurusheya. Apaurusheya means the knowledge which is not manufactured by an ordinary Purusha, an ordinary person of this world. That is why it is called Apaurusheya. Another name Srila Prabhupada gave, the Vedas are also known as Shruti. Shruti means that which is acquired, the knowledge that is received through Shravanam, through hearing. That is called Shruti. And Prabhupada said another analogy. The analogy of if a person wants to know who is his father, he has to simply accept the authoritative statements of his mother. Otherwise, throughout his life, he may be doing DNA fingerprint test on so many individuals. It will actually take out so much of his time. And there is no guarantee whether he will come to the right conclusion even after so much of elaborate tests. But if he simply accepts the mother's statement, oh, such and such a person, this person is your father, my dear son, mother will say. And you simply have to accept the mother's version, and that gives you perfect knowledge. So in the same way, Vedas are our mother. Why? Because the Vedas point towards our Supreme Father, Krishna. Every Vedic statement, whether it is the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas or Itihasas, every statement of the Vedas are actually trying to tell us who our Supreme Father is. Therefore, this Vedic knowledge is called our mother. So, a person, after getting human form of life, he has to take birth for the second time. It is told in the scriptures. What is that second birth? The second birth is through the spiritual master and the Vedic knowledge. If one approaches a bona fide spiritual master and receives proper Vedic knowledge training from him, so the Vedic knowledge is mother, the spiritual master is father, and in that way, a person gets second birth. First birth is through our biological parents. Second birth is through the Vedas and the spiritual master. And such a person is called Dvija, a person who has taken second birth. He is called Dvija, or twice born, or Brahmana he is called. Brahmana is not a caste. Brahmana is a qualification. One who has understood the spiritual knowledge, he is called Brahmana. Brahma janati iti Brahmana. That is the definition of the word Brahmana. So, like this, many interesting things Srila Prabhupada is revealing. We are just in the introduction of this book. We will every day meet for 20 minutes, 25 minutes and read and discuss, because this is a very important book, a very important scripture, this Īśopaniṣad. We will try to dive deeper and understand the various intricacies presented in this scripture. So request all of you to please join me every day at 8:30 p.m. on the same link. You can also invite your friends, your acquaintances who are interested. You can also invite them. Let them also hear the teachings of our beloved spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. The result of understanding Īśopaniṣad properly is that we become expert in proper philosophical presentation of Krishna consciousness. Not just for others, but for our own conviction. We have to practice Krishna consciousness with full conviction, isn't it? That conviction can be gotten by understanding the statements of Īśopaniṣad thoroughly. So that is why we have to study. So we will close today's reading session here. If anyone has any question, quickly 1 or 2 questions we can take. Anyone has anything to ask or say, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, one doubt or question, this I had for a long time. See, people say Srimad Bhagavatam is best of the Purana. So is it that Īśopaniṣad is best of the 108 Upanishads? Is it like that, or means?
Yeah, I mentioned this in the beginning. Yes, I mentioned this in the beginning of today's session. There are so many Upanishads, but generally people think that Upanishads are presenting an impersonal God. But in Īśopaniṣad, you will find statements where the Upanishadic statements themselves are hinting towards a personal form of the Lord. Lord is a personality. Isha means he's the controller. He is a person. And the devotee here, he is offering certain prayers to that personal form of the Lord. Therefore, the speciality of Īśopaniṣad among all the Upanishads is that in Īśopaniṣad, you will understand personal God. Lord is a person, and your personal relationship with him is also revealed. So that's a speciality, and that is why Srila Prabhupada chose to explain Īśopaniṣad, to write commentary on Īśopaniṣad among all many other Upanishads. Of course, all Upanishads are actually pointing out towards a personal form of the Lord only, but the Mayavada explanations, they think that Īśopaniṣads are talking about an impersonal form of God. So, yes, among all the Upanishads, you will find direct statements in Īśopaniṣad which points out that the Supreme Lord Controller is not impersonal, he is a person. Therefore, it is one of the best Upanishads. And it is most important for us because Srila Prabhupada has commented on it. Okay, so with this, we come to the end of today's session. We will again meet tomorrow at 8:30. Thank you so much for your valuable time. Shri Īśopaniṣad ki jai, Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.